Hey, everybody. Welcome back to an all new episode and a new regular episode of the Banter Podcast. I am Tim, and as always, I am joined by my lovely co host, Mr. Kevin Bradley. How are you?
Good, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. I'm excited because you know what tomorrow is.
New episode of Mr. Robot?
Yep. Has nothing to do with your birthday tomorrow.
Nah.
You're
excited for my birthday. I'm not excited for my birthday. I'm excited
old
for
ass
Ant-Man.
man. Yeah, I'm more excited for pizza and Ant-Man than I am anything. Actually, no. You know what? Fuck that. I'm going to get real for a second. I'm excited because you're getting older and it's going to be fun. There's going to be a lot of camaraderie. There's going to be, four of us eating our faces off. No, eating our stomachs full. I don't know what
Just eating faces. We're all going to do bath salts and eat faces for the night.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to not step over myself so JP doesn't correct me tomorrow whenever I see him. Because I'm not sure. Yeah, it is. He's Mr. Correcty Pants. He's the human autocorrect. So, yeah, tomorrow we're going to go see Ant-Man, enjoy some festivities. How does it feel to be a little older? For me, anyway, I don't think I haven't felt a day older than 18 other than, my joints.
I don't know. I think it's pretty normal every year around this time. I start to reevaluate things a little bit and listen to squeaky toys as you know.
Yeah, last week it was Pirlo drinking water and eating food, and this week it's Izzy squeaking toys in the background. Obviously, this is a professional show. We get paid for it. We have ads, stamps.com, and then go and, we have our own soundproof studio that keeps us from having animals in the room and regular life things. We just try to keep it more real, man. Fuck that. This show is real.
But yeah, so every year about this time, just reevaluating things and getting my mind right going into the next year, I guess. It's good. It's also stressful, but I mean, I have nothing to really be unhappy about, I guess. So that's always good, right? You always hope to be in a better position the following year than you were in a year before, and I can definitely say that this year. So I have a lot to be thankful for. So,
even after last night, even after just the shittiest trials runs possible.
I think I think your performance in multiplayer Destiny is slowly giving me an aneurysm and will lead to my ultimate death before my age ever does.
That'll be the only thing I've probably ever accomplished in my life. That's the bad part about it. Is that I will lead to your death. So, it's funny, and thinking about, because we've been friends for how long now? Probably 2003, so 12 years, almost 13 years, something like that. And we've been through a lot together. And one of the things that I just did and jerry rigged, because the problem with this microphone that I have is it's kind of small. It's like compact, and it's like a travel mic, and the tripod's not very big on it. So it's either buy a stand or do what you did with the Hornet back in, I don't know, junior, senior year of high school, and make a speaker box with a shoe box. Yeah. So my microphone stand is now a sweet $29 pair of Massimo black sneakers that I bought for work this past weekend. The shoe box for that. I think it's working out.
My setup was so Urban Outfitters before Urban Outfitters was Urban Outfitters. Like making a speaker box out of a reused shoe box worked flawlessly. Now people pay $60, $70, $100 for that.
Yeah, it's true. The things that, in a sense, ghetto people make out of necessity end up being trendy, I guess.
Yeah.
It started with the holes in the jeans. I think it started from there, and it's just continued. That and
yeah, exactly.
That I'm waiting for the day where you see hipsters walking around with a pole that has a bandana and like all of their stuff tied around it,
phone and everything in there. They have their earbuds like wrapped around the stick coming from their phone in their sack down to their actual ear.
Yep. Their Apple Watches tied around the pole that's connected to their
I think we need to start that for sure.
Yeah, I think so.
I think we're well on our way with selfie sticks. That's just the next logical
step,
right?
Oh my God. It's so funny to hear people talk seriously about selfie sticks. I did see, I think you probably saw it too, actual practical use for it whenever we went and saw Darkest Hour. Did you see that guy?
No?
So he had a selfie stick and he was recording the entire show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's probably the most practical use I could see for it. It's just like an extension to get up over the crowd in that case and not enjoy the concert until afterwards.
Yeah, that's always the frustrating thing it shows now, though, is the amount of phones out every time you turn around. I did see a pretty funny meme online a couple weeks ago about if Titanic had happened in 2015 and it's the Titanic's up on its end in the ocean in the Atlantic and everybody's on rafts and stuff with with their phones out taking pictures of it.
I won't lie. I'm guilty of it. I'll pull my phone out every now and again. But like with Wrecking Ball, I did that more because of the people who couldn't be there.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times I like to have, little snippets. I don't sit there and record, an entire song like a lot of people will, or, just, whatever. But yeah, that is the way it's going, I guess. It's
nothing
everything.
worse than being on the floor inevitably. And I'm average height. I'm 5'9". So, but inevitably if I'm on the standing room floor for a show, somebody's going to be taller than me right in front of me, no matter what show I go to, it happens. And then as a backup to that, they always have to have their phone out up above their head, recording every minute of the show, it seems like. And it drives me nuts.
Yeah, that was me during Wrecking Ball for, probably a solid 5 minutes of Coheed. But yeah, it's crazy. Just and speaking of the culture and technology getting the way it's getting, and I guess the terrible habits that people are getting, it makes me kind of think of one of the shows that you were talking about last week that I've started to watch, and you've got me kind of hooked on, and that's Mr. Robot.
Oh yeah, how are you liking it?
I like it a lot. I think I don't want to give too much away. I don't think I would be giving anything away, but because I think I think it's all laid out in the first episode in terms of Mr. Robot and, what they probably want you to think, which is what I'm already thinking, and like who he is, what he is because of Elliot's mental history and his whatever. He seems to be kind of out of his mind. So I enjoy it a lot. It's Anonymous, the TV show. I think and part of it in the beginning, don't they say like some of the credits go to Anonymous or something like
Anonymous
that?
content or something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So you and I, we already talked about. We won't really talk about Destiny, but just last night we were playing with one of your buddies, J Dubs, and he, you and I, and we started talking about Mr. Robot, and he was talking about how it was crazy. And you and I were both like, it's really good. And he's like, I don't know if it's good, but it's crazy. And, part of it is, I think that's what makes it good to me is you start to think about all the crazy things that are going on in that show. And you start to think about how like those people really exist. Like that shit's crazy like that. And that because of live leaks and WikiLeaks and all that kind of stuff, you see like the whole concept of hacktivism is insane, and it's going on all around us, whether or not we're aware of it. But and that's part of what's so appealing about it. It's kind of got that Dexter element to it, right? So
I think it draws from a lot of different shows. That's the thing I like about it the most, is that I think it's a great show. I mean, I agree it's crazy, but I also think it's a really, really well-written, well-directed show. And that just builds over time. Last week's episode is a prime example of that now things are coming to light where every little line or clip or flashback that happens previously really has some sort of impact later on, and you see a lot of that stuff start to pay off. But yeah, I mean, like you said, it's very, it's got a little bit of Dexter. It's got a lot of House of Cards with the asides and the internal monologues that Elliot has, and a lot of Fight Club. I think that's pretty obvious. And I guess the director's been pretty outright about that he really draws a lot of inspiration from other movies and TV shows. So,
yeah, I think one of the things that reminds me so much of Dexter is, let's just say, I mean, because it's concept of the show, right? And it doesn't really have a whole lot to do with the show. Kind of so in the way that Dexter, his victims usually until the end, and I've only gotten 3 episodes in, so I don't know what happens. But with Dexter, until like the end of the season, his victims throughout the season that he would kind of seek retribution on weren't necessarily like integral to the plot, and and some of the people that he's hacking in the show aren't necessarily integral to the plot in terms of like actually moving the story along. They could be, they have bits and pieces that affect him, but in the same way though, it's like you see him seek retribution on these people through hacking them and then exposing them, but at the same time, like the stuff that he's doing, it's that, and it's good. I find myself rooting for him more than I ever rooted for Dexter, more than I ever rooted for somebody like Walter White, where you kind of have that moral conflict there. Like, is his secrets, his actions, are they just as deplorable as somebody selling drugs or something like that? It's just the way you have to look at it. And that's part of what also I think what's made it so interesting so far is that it makes you think, and it makes you kind of struggle and have a tug of war with your left and your right, your angel and your demon, whatever you want to say. But I've enjoyed it so far. Especially, I think my favorite part, and I told you last night, I think, is that Christian Slater. I haven't watched Archer, so I guess Archer's been his real comeback. But just to see him on screen again. I started talking to my brother. I was like, he was in every movie whenever I was little, and he just flat out disappeared. And seeing him in Mr. Robot, I was like, he's not a bad actor. I was like, what happened? I text my brother. He's like, drugs. A lot of drugs.
Yeah, his the way that they've scripted him and put him into Archer the past 2 seasons now, I think, is pretty great. I really enjoy that a lot. So yeah, Mr. Robot. And the other side of this show that I really enjoy is that it's got a lot of what people are enjoying about TV shows. Is it captures the essence of binge watching, as well as keeping the week-to-week viewers really entertained and speculative about what's going to be happening the following week. And so I'm constantly finding myself having conversations with JP and coworkers about what's happening in the last night's episode, and what do you think is going to actually happen. What do you think's going on with Elliot? Who is Mr. Robot? Stuff like that, which is really enjoyable. But at the same time, I loved that I started watching it whenever it was on its 6th or 7th episode. I can't remember. So being able to binge watch those first 5 or 6 episodes and needing to watch the next episode was something I haven't had in a TV show in a while, which I really enjoyed. And as a result, enjoying this season so much has made me realize how little, I guess, I really enjoyed season 2 of True Detective in retrospect. Like, I didn't have this much attachment or excitement for that as I do with this TV show. Like, I thoroughly have enjoyed every single episode, whereas True Detective season 2 had moments in episodes, and there was a lot of buildup, and but I didn't really feel that, oh my God, I need to see the next episode right now, until the last 2, maybe 3 episodes. So,
all right, you lost me. I gotta go. I'll see you later. No, I completely agree. I think you're right. It is rare that you find a TV show that can be enjoyed through either binge watching or have that week to week that actually does keep you intrigued, that makes you. So with my fandom of True Detective 2 and my over exploration of the subreddit, have you gone into I'm guessing there's a Who is Mr. Robot subreddit. Have you gone down that rabbit hole?
There is. And also to that point, if I think that you may find what you were really looking for in the rabbit hole of the True Detective subreddit with the Who is Mr. Robot, in that things, like I said, this last episode was a real turning point for the show, where certain things came to light that all of the little moments leading up to this episode all have much more significance. So unlike True Detective, where there wasn't really that payoff, like there was all this speculation about is there that mask hanging up behind him in the shed, or little stuff like that. Whereas with Mr. Robot, it's absolutely every moment is significant in some way or has something to do with something that is more than just the surface, essentially. So from that standpoint, I've absolutely loved it, and I think it's far surpassed True Detective season 2 in that matter.
And just to touch on that real quick, that was definitely a pig mask hanging up behind Tim Riggins.
No, it was not.
That was not ropes. That was a pig mask hanging. What's funny about True Detective 2 is there was, I guess, I have to figure out what speech he was given, but Pizzolatto was talking about during a speech after True Detective 1, he was talking about how he was in the middle of True Detective 2. He was like, and this very well could be the end of me. Like, wow. Like he kind of saw that coming, I guess, just because he probably realized he was trying to do too much with too little time. But Mr. Robot, that was surprising because to me, that was a show I think I saw trailers for, and I was like, whenever they were promoting it a couple months ago before it came out, and I was just like, USA shows are good usually whenever you take them for what they are, like White Collar. One of my favorite
binge watching.
Yeah, absolutely. That's another. They're, I guess, in the same way. Those two are kind of the same formula, where and of that Dexter formula, where a lot of the stuff, the people like in White Collar, the people who Neil was kind of grifting or whatever you want to say, he was screwing over, conning. A lot of those episodes, those people didn't really have anything to do with the story, but they did kind of further him as a character, just the same way Elliot is being furthered, and it's great. And like I was saying, you would look at those promos and be like, okay, it's a USA show. Their production value is probably not going to be that high, but it's probably going to be pretty fun. Get around to watching it when I do. But whenever you started talking about how good it was, and JP had told you how good it was, and all I see is over the internet, all the ratings for the show. The ratings that are comparable to, in terms of, just straight up ratings out of just comparable to Breaking Bad, I guess, whenever you're looking at reviews. So,
right.
It's so far it's well deserved. So how many episodes have there been so far? 7?
I believe so. 7 or 8. I can't remember.
Okay.
And I don't know how many there are in this season. And that leads me to my next point, which is that I'm starting to get scared about where the show is headed, because I've enjoyed it so much, and I've talked to you about this and that. Sometimes shows like this, I'm really afraid it's going to rope itself into a corner and not know where to go after season 1, because they really have been building along this one plot line the entire first season, and I don't know how that carries over. If they carry that over into a second season, I can't see them drawing out that one plot line for 5 or 6 seasons. I don't know if it is just meant to be a one season and leave it be, or which never seems to be the case nowadays, especially with TV being in the position it's in now, where they're getting beat out by Netflix and HBO and stuff like that. And so they need to have something that's going to run multiple seasons and catch fire early on and keep going. So that, from that standpoint, I am concerned. But I mean, if they can even get close to what they've been able to do in the first season, I'm absolutely on board. And the second part of that is in an era where TV shows have opening credits that seem to take up half of the length of the actual show, I have so much respect for a TV show that can just do a very simple 30-second opening, like that's actual part of the show, and then just have an opening title and then go on. Like, it doesn't have this whole long drawn out opening cinematic that takes up half the show, like I said.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. It's kind of funny. So there are a couple subtle things that I love about this show. So one of the things, I've been watching it on USA Now. I won't say FX Now, just to confuse you. But no, I've been watching it on USA Now on my Xbox One, and what I love is the little details that they put into the show. I don't know whoever's producing it or whoever's doing the small episode descriptions. I don't know if you read the episode descriptions at all. Oh God,
the titles!
Yeah, they kill me, like, because some of them are .mkvs, .movs, .avis,
.jpg, yeah.
That's fantastic. And then, like you were saying, the intro is essentially just an overlay that comes up over the scene before it goes to commercial, and it's fucking awesome. What I love about it is the font reminds me so much of Data East, who used to make a lot of games in the early '90s, like Bad Dudes. Yep. That whole thing just reminds me so much of them that it's fantastic.
And I don't know if it actually does it or if it's just because my TV every now and then with like crisp lines and on text and stuff, it struggles with it. I don't know if it's common to every TV or maybe the settings I have, but the font will jump a little bit. And so whenever that comes up on the Mr. Robot, it's almost got that like you're watching it on a VHS to it a little bit. It's nice. Not crazy, but it comes up just a little bit. And I don't know if that's actually part of it. It's probably just my TV, but it adds a little bit to me anyway.
Nice. Thanks, Vizio. Just to go back to what you were saying about a second season, it looks, according to Wikipedia and IMDb has 2 seasons listed, and then Wikipedia says that prior to the premiere that they announced that there's going to be a second season. So I guess probably the producers liked it so much, or the bigwigs at USA and NBC Universal liked it so much that they decided to pick it up before it even premiered.
Right. Well, I mean, that's the other thing that we had also talked about, where you almost you have to go in expecting 2 seasons. I think nowadays, you can't, if you rope yourself into a hole after 1 season, you're not going to get very far. So, good on them for at least going in and having a plan for 2 seasons, and we'll see what happens. That's going to be one. I got a feeling it's going to be one hell of a cliffhanger at the end of the first season, though.
It's got to be. It's got to be like a White Collar cliffhanger. That's one thing White Collar did at the end of seasons that was very good. Is they really did leave you hanging and wanting that next season. You know, more so from episode to episode than from season to season. It was they really did rope you in, but. Speaking of like limited runs and going in and wanting a limited run, another show that, you know, was a favorite of ours for the first season and has to be a limited run just based off of the content that it's being based off of. That's The Strain, which I guess in this season, which I have yet to watch yet. I think I want to binge watch it because last season was kind of frustrating going from episode to episode. But I guess this season really would be called The Fall. That's a series. You know, from the onset, if they try to do more than 3 seasons, I think they're going to shoot themselves in the foot.
Right.
Because it's the same. Are they going to get into the point where, well, it's not even that really. I was going to say Game of Thrones, which I've not watched, but I know the whole thing behind, you know, George R.R. Martin takes so long to write a book that the TV show is about to pass the storylines in the books, right?
1 more season, I believe.
Okay, and he's fine, I guess, just like guiding the showrunners, right?
Yeah, he's already told them what's supposed to happen, but I really don't know what they're going to do with Game of Thrones. I feel like they may take a slightly separate path. I don't know. I haven't read the books or anything. I have no clue what they're going to do with that. It's a big issue.
Yeah. So with The Strain, they followed pretty well with the first book. I listened to the first book. I really enjoyed it. I'm not usually one of those people, because I didn't read it, but not usually one of those people that would say I like the book better than the movie or better than the show. I think that some of the elements that they left out of the TV show, I can understand, but at the same time, some of the stuff that they put in, kind of like The Walking Dead did with some of the new characters or some of the characters that weren't involved in the comic book, I wasn't, you know, necessarily crazy about. But like I was saying, that they don't want to get in. I don't really think they should get into that situation. I hope they don't, that they get past 3 seasons and they don't have, you know, Guillermo del Toro and Chuck Hogan haven't written anything past that 3rd book, to my knowledge. And, you know, I believe it's just like a set limited run. So, but you have been watching it, right?
The Strain?
Yeah.
I've enjoyed the 2nd season. Before we completely discard Mr. Robot, I just thought of one big issue that I have with the show, in that other shows as well that I hadn't noticed before. It's kind of like your issue with people that talk on the phone and they just hang up without ever saying bye, like conversation. Mr. Robot, a technology TV show dealing with computers. Everybody instinctively knows which way to put a USB into a USB drive, which never happens in real life.
Correct, because as we all know, we all know the unwritten law of USBs is that no matter how many times you flip it, it will not go in. It's
You have to flip it at least 4 times. Like you have to go back and forth a couple of times before it actually works.
I almost want to liken it to the kind of the vampire law where they have to be invited into your home. With USBs, you have to go and you have to look into the port and you have to kind of say, "Hey, I'm coming in." Brace for it. I got to line it up right. No, what is it? Is it USB? I'm trying to think of the format that they're switching to. Is it USB-A drives or something like that? Where they work either way.
Okay.
I can't remember what they're called. I want to say that's either way. Maybe it's USB-C. It's like a universal USB that will flip either way, and you won't have to deal with that. But I'm guessing that they're still gonna, screw with you, and you're still gonna have to do it. But yeah, I have not noticed. I have noticed an overwhelming use of CDs and DVDs, though, which is kind of throwing me off. So wait, another thing. So I'm pretty sure he said this in the first episode that I'm guessing this show is entirely from his point of view because every time anybody says instead of E Corp, they say Evil Corp, right?
Right.
So that's him saying, and that's not anybody else calling them Evil Corp. That's his mind automatically replacing those two together. Okay. Which is kind of clever. But if you missed that little tiny tidbit in the first episode, like, why the fuck would a company go around calling themselves Evil Corp?
So yeah, season 2 of The Strain, I've definitely enjoyed it so far. A lot less of the issues that I had with the first season. A little bit, though. I think some of the actors are just a little weak. But I'm not expecting something crazy out of that show. It does remind me that I am an episode behind. I didn't watch this past week's episode. But I'm actually more excited for another sort of post-apocalyptic show which starts this Sunday, which is Fear the Walking Dead, which starts up on the 23rd. So I'm really excited to see what happens with that.
I did not realize that it was that close. I forgot it was kind of like a late summer series. So is it going to be running until Walking Dead starts?
I believe so, yeah. I mean, that would make sense.
What, 6 episodes probably?
No, second season of Walking Dead starts October, or second season, Jesus. What are we on? 7, 6, 6 or 7?
6 at this point, yeah.
So season 6 starts October. It normally starts in October, so I feel like it'll probably run till. What they'll probably end up doing is it'll run until the week before The Walking Dead starts, because they always do that marathon week of The Walking Dead before the next season starts, where they play all the episodes for a week straight, essentially. So leading up to it.
Yeah, it's 6 episodes.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Yeah.
So what does that get you to? Does that only get you till? Well, let's get you to October.
That's 6 weeks. That's what I was saying. It's like the end of August to October. Yeah.
Gotcha. I don't know what my brain was thinking August, but more the beginning of August. So I thought it was going to have to be more than 6 episodes. I guess that's where I registered it at.
Yeah. So one of the crazy things to me about Fear the Walking Dead is that in this franchise, I believe Cliff Curtis might be like one of the biggest, isn't it? Yeah, Cliff Curtis. He might be one of the biggest named actors to start with either of these seasons or either of these shows, and he's still not that big of a name. It makes you think of just like how there's, neither have a star-studded cast, and The Walking Dead has done fairly well for itself, and it just a lot of times TV doesn't need that big name anymore. But whenever they do get the big names, I guess you think True Detective season 1, it's kind of a big event. But I don't know. I thought that was kind of interesting to think about that. Who is the biggest name do you think going into The Walking Dead out of that group of characters, out of that group of actors? It was probably Daryl, right?
Oh,
Norman Reedus.
No, I don't know. There's also, I think, of course I can't remember any of the actual actors' names.
So John Bernthal, Shane, was not a big actor leading into
No,
it.
but fuck. What was Herschel? What's Herschel's actual name?
Oh, I don't know.
He's a pretty well-known Southern actor. But him, and then I think Good God, I cannot believe I cannot think of any of these actors' names.
Michael Rooker?
Michael Rooker. I think he's not huge, but he's a pretty big name. Even going into The Walking Dead, I think he had a pretty good resume, I guess.
Yeah, like 20 years ago.
Yeah, but still, I mean,
yeah, I know. It's no, I'm saying it's kind of a testament to them that they're able to find these people who are either, looking for a comeback in their acting careers or like kind of giving them that start, because Andrew Lincoln, for being the biggest star on the show, I honestly I'd never watched a movie or seen him in anything. I had never watched Love Actually, and I think that's the only thing I ever hear people really talk about him being in.
Scott Wilson is the guy's name. That was Herschel.
And then David Morrissey, the governor, he's in, a lot of British movies, but.
Holy shit. Apparently, Scott Wilson went to, oh crap, I lost my place. Now this sounds retarded because I lost my part on the.
Good job, dude.
He went to Georgia Southern Tech University to study architecture.
And he's your favorite actor now, isn't he?
But instead, he hitchhiked to L.A. on a whim and hooked up one day with an actor he met in a bar who took him on one of his auditions. That's nuts.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. But I've only watched the teaser for Fear the Walking Dead, so I don't know a whole lot of what's going to go on in it other than it's just going to be post-apocalyptic Los Angeles, right?
Yeah, it's taking, not really post-apocalyptic. I don't know how much of this season, like the teaser or the trailer that I saw, there's no way that's for the first episode because it seemed to take up way too much time. I think the entire 6 episodes is going to take place up to the collapse, essentially. So it starts out before everything hits the fan, essentially. So
I got you. Do you think we're going to get a cause?
I don't know. I think everyone will still be in the same situation that they're in now. Because I can't see how they would know a cause there, but they wouldn't on the East Coast. You know what I mean? When they go through the same thing. I think it'll just be a different point of view from somebody like as everything's falling apart, essentially.
Well, what if it started in LA?
Yeah, but if it started in LA, all communications wouldn't be out, and there would be some sort of notification in Atlanta, and people would know what was going on. You know what I mean? Like,
but what if those people who knew what was going on were dead?
What?
What if the people who found out what was going on were the first ones to get infected? Is what I'm saying.
That doesn't make any sense. How would they find out? How would they find out but be infected? How are they going to find out and be infected?
Because it's too late by the time that they were told. Busiest airport in the world.
To answer your question, no, I don't think we're going to find
out. But if you think about it, so
I am excited for. Since we're talking about The Walking Dead, trailer for the season 6 of The Walking Dead looks amazing.
Yeah, honestly, aside from the first season, that's like the first time I've seen the trailer for a Walking Dead season that I'm like super excited about. I didn't watch 2 seasons of the show. I think I'm getting lag. I think I'm lagging. Can you hear me, Kevin? Oh, fantastic. This is good. I think I lost Kevin, guys. So with The Walking Dead, I think that the season 6 trailer has got me more excited for for that season than any other season of the show so far. I think they did a great job with season 5 and picking up kind of the slack that was left with season 4 and kind of the first few. Well, no, I guess the first half of season 4 and then the second half of season 4 and then the whole of season 5. Oh, great. So Kevin has lost power. We've been dealing with thunderstorms in Atlanta. So he has had a power surge. I'm going to figure out whether or not you think it's going to be long term. All right. So conceivably, this might be the end of the show. But I will let you guys know. So we got Fear the Walking Dead. We got The Walking Dead coming up. just a lot of great TV coming up, a lot of great movies coming up as well. As we were talking about, we're going to go see Ant-Man this week. I'm also going to try and see The Man from U.N.C.L.E., which I think looks fantastic. And I might try and convince Kevin to go see Straight Outta Compton. But we'll see. We shall see. All right. Well, it sounds like his whole neighborhood is out. And there are Transformers popping in the neighborhood. So Revenge of the Fallen has come on the Dark of the Moon. I still forget which episodes or which movies go where. But so one of the things that I did want to talk about is, while we're waiting for Kevin, is just how great this year has been for music so far. I think it's arguably probably my favorite year that I've had, or most active year that I've had in terms of new music and good music that's come out for me. One of my favorite albums thus far, and one of my favorite top 10 albums probably of all time, has been Dance Gavin Dance's Instant Gratification, which if you haven't listened to yet, go and find. I guess it really depends on your taste, but amazing post-hardcore band that does, amazing just music or musicianship. I'm trying to think of how to say this, but because I'm not really a music critic, but the musicianship on it is amazing. The guitar work, the drums, and then you have amazing vocal combination between Tillian Pearson and John Mess, that the way that they go back and forth and are able to complement each other, with Tillian's kind of high pitch and John Mess's just aggressive, abrasive vocals. It's fantastic. They're a band that I've been listening to and loving for, I guess, about 10 years now, since they came out with Downtown Battle Mountain. And they've gone through, at this point, 1, 2, back to 1, 3. So they've had 3 clean vocalists. They've had a couple different people do the abrasive vocals. And, I think they just keep getting better. I think they found their combination. They're a band that I think has gotten better since Johnny Craig's departure, both times. I feel like the albums that, the Downtown Battle Mountain albums are amazing, but at the same time, the others kind of had more of their own uniqueness to them. They're far less, those albums seem so focused on his vocals than I think Kevin's going to try and get back on, but all right. Well, maybe not. I don't know. But they've just kind of stamped their own identity on the scene with the way that they're playing now, the combination that they have between the two. And it's just a great album. Go and listen to it. I watched them live this summer. And, I couldn't have been happier than to see them perform, and saw a couple other bands like Hail the Sun and, the tail end of Stolas. But you have other albums that came out this year, like Small Pools, which fantastic album, kind of came out of nowhere. They had a great EP that came out last year, which I listened to incessantly. And then, out of nowhere one day I noticed that, I don't keep up with music as much as I used to in terms of new releases and when things are coming out, because I actually pay for music now, which is kind of weird. But, I saw them come up and, new album, listened to it, and Kevin and I both, were infatuated with that album from start to finish. And Kevin is installing it on his phone. He's a trooper. He's going to try and get back in. But Small Pool is fantastic. Great upbeat music, a lot of fun a lot of fun lyrics, a lot of fun music involved in that. Another one that kind of came out of nowhere was Hunter Hunted. There's another one. There's this kind of formula that indie bands or new alternative bands do, where they put out an EP that's 5 songs, and then in about 9 months they put out an LP that has 3 of the songs on it from that first album. And I can't blame them for it, because a lot of those bands are coming up and they don't have a lot of the money that bigger bands do. So how can I forget one of the most interesting albums that came out this year? And I kind of want to talk about all this stuff with Kevin, but I'll wait for him. he doesn't really listen to Refused. I don't think he's ever got into him. But after about 17 years, I want to say it was, between The Shape of Punk to Come, which is arguably one of the most influential hardcore albums to ever come out, or hardcore punk albums, whatever you want to say. One of the first hardcore albums I ever bought, actually at a Blockbuster Music in Dothan, Alabama, back in 1999, I think. One of the greatest albums ever. They broke up before they ever even got to tour for it. Broke up in Darkest Hour's basement at the time, which is kind of crazy because, they were coming up as well. And it looks like Kevin's not going to be able to make it, but just, I guess, maybe to close on this before we're able to reconnect and finish this episode for you guys, or get you guys another episode of content. A lot of people want, especially the band that has been broken up for so long with such acclaim and such a cult following, they want that new release to sound so much like the other one, the last one, the one that made them famous, that they're inevitably going to be disappointed, because a lot of times, especially if the band is intelligent and as talented as Refused, I don't think they're okay even with the status quo of, their best album. They want to push the boundaries. They want to try different stuff. They've all been involved in different bands in the past, decade and a half, that they have influences from other places that they're going to draw in. And that's kind of what you see. And it takes you, especially if you were a fan of, Songs to Fan the Flames of Discontent, or Shape of Punk to Come, or, the EPs that came before. If you're a fan of those, you see even there are differences between those that are pretty noticeable. And then you listen to Freedom, which is completely different, with the exception of Elektra and a couple of riffs throughout the album. That album is so unique. And I think that's what's thrown a lot of people off. And I think that's why maybe it hasn't gotten a lot of the buzz that it maybe deserves. You have, especially in a song like Servants of Death, just the kind of exploratory sound that they're going for. They're trying to find something new. They're trying to find something that works. And I think they found something that works. And I think it took me probably 5 or 6 listens through the album to really appreciate what they were doing. And it's good. It's good to see fresh music, because I'd rather see bands try to push the envelope than to stick with what they were doing, because inevitably those bands get bored. Well, you would think so anyway, of producing the same content over and over again. So I guess I'm going to wrap it up. Kevin is not going to make it. So thanks to the thunderstorm that popped his power, cut his internet out, and disbanded the show. I hope that you've stuck with me through the terrible ramblings of my music reviews and scattered music reviews of the past year, as I obviously try and stall for Kevin to get back on the air. But nonetheless, I appreciate you, and I appreciate you guys listening to the show, and I know Kevin does too. We'll be back hopefully soon. If not, then next Tuesday for a new episode. In the meantime, go to iTunes. Try not to hold this against us, but go to our page on iTunes, maybe leave us a review, leave us a rating. You don't even have to write anything. You can just leave us a rating if you want, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars, whatever you want. Anything helps out. Let your friends know. Make sure to follow us on Twitter. Kevin's at _ARC1 TECT, the architect. And I am on Twitter at TimHerb, TIMHERB. Find us on iTunes, on Stitcher, on SoundCloud, on YouTube, as you're maybe watching right now. And just make sure to let us know what you think of the show. Give us comments. Let us know what we did wrong, what we did right, what you guys liked, what you guys didn't. And hopefully we'll see you next week for an all new episode of the Banter Podcast.